Hello, TNA fam, and welcome back to the Epic Zone podcast. We're here again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and of course, we're here to talk Turning Point results and review here for today. So we're gonna go in the order of the card for the most part. I do want to talk about the main event shenanigans a lot, but I think we have to start at the beginning. So it is what it is. So we start the show with Mean Gia Miller outside waiting for the arrival of Mike Santana. Now, he's not been quote unquote heard from by anyone throughout the whole of this night, basically. But Frankie Kazarian pulls up instead and has a quick interview. After a few words, he goes inside and we see a package for the review of last night showing how Santana lost the belt and how Kazarian won the belt with the NXT chaos and whatnot going on. So Milan Miracle will be the Director of Authority will be trying to get to the bottom of this, situation. So the first match featured Jake Something, Mance Warner, and the Hometown Man in a three-way match. Obviously, since this was announced very turnaround-ish, we didn't have much time to evaluate this, and it was fairly surprising, in some way, that Jake won. It's interesting, and it's sort of they've already started on commentary, at least, starting to distance him from Kazarian. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what they've got planned there or whatever. And I didn't think when I saw it, I didn't think the Hometown Man would win, but weirder things have happened. But still, I said in that video when I said it's not what you do so much as how you follow it up. And it's not just saying we're going to do the same thing again or whatever. Sometimes that's the thing that you've got to do. You've got to kind of do the same thing again type thing. And we're going to mention that a bit more. But with this, it's Jake hasn't won basically hardly any matches ever. And this is one of his first goddamn wins ever. I said that about Cedric Alexander there the other day, but he's only been in the company for a few months or whatever it's been. But Jake's been in the company for years and on and off and whatnot. But anyway, I'd like to see what we do with Jake. Like I said, I don't have huge problem with anyone, but it's just how you present them and how they get presented sometimes as well. But anyway, Gia Miller interviewed BDE backstage about his match with AJ Francis. So we've got a few interviews with BDE, so I already basically knew what he was gonna say. But yeah, whatever. Sure. Then we had the TNA champion Frankie Kazarian hosting the King's Speech after winning the title. Kazarian denied any involvement from the with the NXT superstars who attacked Santana in the main event. He asked Carlos Silva to present him with the belt, properly. And then Nick Nemeth came out to confront Kazarian and say, hey, if I get the chance later tonight, I'm going to call my shot in our tag team match. So we'll be on tenterhooks to see that. Then TNA Turning Point starts. Kalani Jordan versus M by Elegance was the first match of this night, which is very weird in some ways, but it's kind of interesting. And in some ways, I think maybe again you kind of wanted to get this sort of thing out of the way as quickly as possible. In some ways, because I think like I've said this, you're trying to move Kalani into that heel role. So I think getting this match out of the way and trying to move her on to other opponents later down the line, so she can do more of that heel role is better for her. And like having her in these this sort of babyface position isn't like the position that they want her in. But maybe it is the position that she's just gonna be in. Like that's her style. She hasn't really shown a style of, like being more of a heel, being more aggressive, but we have to see that, and she has to show that. And that's maybe what they should have tried to show in these matches. They should have shown her to be, getting more aggressive and getting more heelish and whatever else, even though it was against other heels. I don't know, but still, whatever. I think this was just as good, probably, as the Heather by Elegance match. Actually, I think it was a little bit longer, so I think it was actually a little bit better. Because you actually got like a fair amount of time for M to sort of showcase herself and whatnot in this match. But as I said, it didn't really lead to anything here. And like I said this like before, like you start wondering, what's the timing of things or what have you. So we're gonna have to wait and see for that, because again, we'll find this out later on in the night that, we still don't know exactly when Genesis is going to be. We know it's going to be in January, but that's about it. So, but yeah. Gia Miller catched up with Laying Lee, Zaya Brookside, and Mara Sade backstage, who were watching the championship match. Laying Lee and Zaya said, hey, we've got to go and get prepped for our tag team match later tonight. Leaving Mara Sade, who got verbally assaulted by Ryan Nemeth, which would come back to bite him in the ass later, but we'll get to that later. NXT General Manager Ava is here to insist that she had nothing to do with this whole situation. Santino was a bit mad, but they go their separate ways. Let's see, where are we now? Following the altercation on the First Class Penthouse, BDE challenges AJ Francis. This was a really good match between these two. Like, we haven't seen much of BDE, and I think he's been wrestling on the indies and whatnot. I think they mentioned some of that sort of stuff. I think this is like Francis's best match. Like, he only had one of the like singles match against Nick Nemeth, but this was one of his better matches, I think. Carried the match very well because he let BDE get in a lot of offense, sort of thing, so that he didn't have to carry the offense. And that's good because the big men only have like 5 moves of doom or whatever, which is sort of what they should have in some ways. But I think that's the problem with like modern audiences, and that sometimes, well, even me, but like it's like we expect a lot more, unfortunately, because we're used to seeing too much greatness, I think. But still, like, this was a really good match. But Francis won this one. I think that's the right decision. Like, even if you're gonna get BDE to hang around more or do more stuff with TNA, it's like, I don't know that you're going to do that. Are you really going to? I don't know. But again, you've got Francis. So it's like he's a guy that you can actually like say, okay, even if you've got BDE coming along later on down the road, it's like for redemption, it's like, well, you've got to start with that. You've got to start with him being on that back foot, but still having that mindset that people think, oh, he could still win or whatever. So, but anyway. The Bioflex injury report comes up. Mike Santana's status is undetermined after being attacked. Elijah remains out of action after evaluating that injury. Nick Nemeth is cleared to compete. During an interview with TNA International Champion Steve Macklin, says that he will go it alone if Mike Santana is not here against Kazarian and Nemeth. After their last match ended in disqualification, Indy Hartwell, or their last two matches actually ended in disqualification. Indy Hartwell takes on Danny Luna in a no disqualification match. So this one was great. This one was a great match here. I fail to feel like I know what they're gonna do next with this, because it's like you've got to start, like, you've got these other people like Mara Shade and whatnot, and Laying Lee, who've got, well, Laying Lee has an opportunity, but you've got Mara there, you've got a few other people that are there, but it seems like your main focus almost feels like it's Indy. So, it's not like you can't, like, get back to her in 6 months. That's fine, but it's like, you've got to give her something to do. And I almost felt like this was the thing that she was doing for a few more months or whatever, because then at least you've got something clear. And, like, now that you've kind of almost ended it, it's like, well, what's she going to do now? So, plus she's, like, who else is on the roster that she can really go up against? I don't really know. She's basically beaten everyone, so it's like in a difficult position there. So yeah, Indy won this one. But what a hell of a match. I think, like, this is up there with the matches of the night. There are so many really good matches later down in the night, but like BDE and AJ was good, but I think when you have, like, really good dance partners, two really good dance partners or what have you, or even more, that makes it really difficult to overcome the fact that you just had a decently good match. So, if somebody is fairly giving in a match, it can, make it pretty decent. But again, like, when you've got a bunch of people doing that, it makes it really hard to beat that. But anyway, let's see, where are we? We get more stuff with General Manager Ava backstage, hiring more security, and Santino apologizing for getting a little bit hot, but, the situation is a bit complicated. Alright, anyway, we continue on. The Knockouts World Tag Team Championships are on the line. Inspiration defends against the Angel Warriors and Victoria Crawford, but not Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard is supposedly not able to compete, and taking her place will be the debuting Myla Moore. I think she's done some stuff on Explosion here and there. So I haven't really seen much of her. I think we all saw that video package the other night, which is, I guess, was like a tease of, like, her debuting soon-ish, though I don't think many people were expecting that she'd debut at this point. This was a good match too. I don't think it was quite as good as the last match, but I think it was still really good here, though there were a few little botches here and there in this match. But it is what it is sometimes. Those things happen, and I'll talk about another match that had a few botches in it later on. But yeah, this one was still pretty good, I think. But the Inspiration retained here in this one. So, still your Knockouts Tag Champs, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay. I was almost expecting somebody to debut here at some point, but whatever. Didn't happen. TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, join forces with Cedric Alexander to battle Mustafa Ali and the Great Hands of Order 4. So this one was, like, all over the place with a lot of shenanigans happening, a lot of interference and whatnot. Well, not a lot, but a bit of interference happening, especially from Agent Zero down the road. This match had a lot of botches in it. A lot of botches. Not 1,000 botches, but a lot of botches in it. You want to talk about a match with botches? This was a match with botches. This wasn't a bad match, but I don't think you could call it good. Um, I think it was cool to see that, the Great Hands and Mustafa Ali won. Like I said, I thought they would. Um, but yeah, I kind of felt like, this was probably the match that you would be most let down with if you're not just looking at this through the nostalgia lens or looking at through it the Hardy, lens of like, oh, these guys are cool or whatever. They've been cool for so long or whatever, and they're legends or whatever. There was a couple cool spots certainly in this, and not everything was bad, obviously, as I say, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about that. Next comes, there's so many tag team matches. I just, can't believe how many goddamn tag team matches there are. There's variations of tag team matches, but there's so many goddamn tag team matches on this show. So we're talking about all the tag team matches. But anyway, we're talking about the System, JDC, Moose, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, taking on the Rascals, Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, Myron Reed, and the returning Desmond Xavier! Huzzah! That was cool to see Dez back. And this is the first time they've all tagged together at once in one place, apparently. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what we're told. What a match. Absolutely what a match. I cannot gush hard enough on this. I think there was a couple botches here and there, but those little botches didn't hurt the match. If there were any, there might have been one or two I can't really recall, but even though I just watched it, but minor botches aren't bad, or whatever, a slight timing botch or what have you. Because sometimes that makes it like, oh shit, he actually got that move when it seemed like he shouldn't have got that move or whatever, And some things with timing and saying, oh, this person was down longer than what you should think that they'd be down, so that didn't make much sense or whatever. Those sorts of things. And might talk about that more in a bit, but it's like, wow, oh well, so what? This one was great, and it was cool to see Dez and the Rascals picked up the win in this one. In fact, Dez picked up the win in this one. Was an emotional moment here in this one. So that was cool to see, and I kind of feel like you should position Dez to kind of go after Leon. I kind of want to see those two hook up. That would be really cool to see those two. And, I don't know what story you've got there between those two, but you could kind of have Leon being not trusting of Dez and things like that, saying, hey, you betrayed us and da-da-da and all that stuff, that you could go down that route, that'd be interesting. But that could be a little bit heelish, I don't know. So, I don't know, but still, it was really cool to see. Eric Young's backstage and blames Santino Marella for the problems that TNA is facing with NXT. And he says, the cleanse is coming. Rich Swann then challenges Leon Slater for the X Division title. Damn, I want to say that this is match of the night. I want to say that this is match of the night, baby. Oh my god. I don't know. Especially with the fact that there's so many tag team matches and they all sort of feel very similar because you can't do too much with tag team wrestling. You do a lot of the same sort of stuff. Though the 10-man tag or whatever was, or was it 8-man tag or whatever, was chaos personified because there's bodies going everywhere and whatnot. The other matches were sort of certainly different, I guess. The Hardys, the 6-man tag, that one was more, order 4 cheating, shenanigans mostly and whatnot and whatever. So, whereas this was more of these sorts of things were more of a fight. I loved this. I think I said this before. This is why I wanted to see this, because it's two guys, it's TNA wrestling. It's total non-stop action. It's two guys going at it. This was amazing. I really enjoyed this. Like, at one point, and I don't know whether this is kayfabe or not, Leon got thrown out to the outside and cracked himself on the ring steps, and it looked like he's hurt his eye somehow in cracking on those ring steps. So I don't know whether you have to think that that's kayfabe, but I don't know, dude. Maybe he legit hurt himself and they just worked it into the match. But then again, why would you continue to work it into a match if somebody's legit like gone and hurt themselves? I don't know. Like, even if he didn't hurt himself too badly, it might be a thing of being like, well, let's just avoid that. But then again, it's like, well, to get the heat, whatever. It's like, that's the thing to do. So I don't know. But certainly it does feel like that's kayfabe, but whatever. There's something else that I kind of want to talk about at the end of this match, but I don't know. Whatever. It was amazing that Leon kicked out of the 450 from Rich. I just like, what the heck is going on here? Like, maybe you shouldn't have done that. But whatever. Eventually, Leon got the Swanton 450 onto Leon and retained the title. After the match, Swan raised Slater's hand in a show of respect. And after the match, TNA Wrestling honored the memory of Leon Slater's grandmother, who recently passed away, Valerie. And now Slater is, turning his attention to Gold Rush with his tag partner Javon Evans against Dark State. It's main event time as International Champion Steve Maclin takes on Frankie Kazarian and Nick Nemeth, but will Mike Santana turn up? So that is the question of the day, I suppose, or question of the night. So yeah, this was cool, but it was mostly 2-on-1 for most of the show, so it was like almost a traditional tag in some ways, but it was like, you didn't have the traditional partner there in the corner for most of this match. So Maclin having to go it alone and battle it alone. Finally, after Ryan is taken out by Mara Sade and some help and whatnot. We're back in the ring after some shenanigans, but still Maclin is still at a disadvantage. But suddenly, out of nowhere, a car comes screaming up to the arena, and Mike Santana is here and busts through the extra security that has been laid up to keep out the riffraff, so to speak. So he gets into the ring after taping his arm up, which was severely injured or seemingly injured. Santana gets onto the apron and tags into the match. Santana is in the building. Santana was able to drop Kazarian chase off Kazarian and drop Nick Nemeth. But soon the numbers game turn, and Nick is able to target the arm of Santana. But with battling back, Santana and Steve Maclin win this match. So that was great. That was great. And I thought that was the end of the night. But as I remembered, Nick Nemeth is going for his Call Your Shot trophy and is telling the referee, hey, I'm going to call my shot now after the match. After Santana has pinned Kazarian. But at that time, the NXT crew, I don't know what we're going to call these guys yet, attack again to disrupt the cash-in. several other TNA stars, like last night, come down to assist, but no one can beat the numbers game. Everyone falls victim to the numbers game, and NXT stands tall over TNA, and then it fades out to black. This, I think, like, you're starting to form this faction that you've got in NXT, which is sort of the heel faction that TNA is actually going to go up against, which is, what is it, 5 or 6 guys, I think, here. Actually, I will say that Santino Marella gets knocked out by Roberts, laid out by some of these guys. I don't know who it was, actually. It wasn't Robert Stone. It wasn't Lexus King. Maybe it was Stax Brooks Jensen. Or Jensen, sorry. Or High Rays. I don't know. I don't think it was. I don't know. It was some of those guys anyway. So anyway, but yeah, who are the guys? It's Robert Stone, Lexus King, Stax, Brooks, Jensen, Charlie Dempsey, and High Rise. So what is that? Well, I think what's the name? Robert is the manager, effectively. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 guys in this faction. So, yeah. Very interesting, like, dynamic. More so than saying everyone in NXT is the heel or whatever. Like, obviously that's, like, a lot harder to put together because, like, how can you have a full locker room be a heel? I don't think that's feasible. And I don't think it's logical. So, but yeah, I do think you saying, hey, this specific faction's heel or whatever, they are the heels. Okay, cool, great. I think that's only going to really be in TNA. Maybe it'll happen in NXT, but like, I don't think you're going to see a similar thing where it's like a heel faction for TNA being in WWE. I don't see it. You could see like the baby faces in WWE, but I don't know. And they could try to spin it the other way or whatever, but I don't know. Anyway, so what a night it was. It was a turning point in many ways. Now we're actually going to form this faction, and you're going to go down that route of, like, this faction is the thing and whatnot. So where does that end? Obviously, you've got to beat away that faction. Because I think, like, they perhaps were thinking about this sort of thing before, but more or less it's only been, like, individuals throughout the throughout this tenure. Like, you sort of had almost a faction with Trick Williams and First Class kind of coming together for a while, but that sort of didn't really last that long, or didn't really, like, happen that much, because it was like you didn't have Swan on TV a lot, so you didn't really have a faction. Like, you had like almost a tag team with Francis and with Trick, but, like, again, they didn't tag together or work together very much. So, you know, like, they did have moments, but it was like, you know, they didn't have that many moments. So, but yeah, I enjoyed the show in many ways. Like, I'm interested to see where things go. Obviously, they've got tapings tomorrow. So, but yeah, you've got to see, like, at certain point, again, like, they haven't announced, like, Genesis, they haven't announced the tickets, anything. They haven't announced what date it's on, they haven't announced the arena, any of that. They haven't announced their new deal. Like, at this point, it's like, dudes, like, like, you've got to deliver. At a certain point, you've either got to, put up or shut up. You can't keep saying, we've got this major announcement coming, and it's like, well, what major announcement? Oh, we've got an announcement. You can't be the boy calling wolf, sort of thing. You can't be saying we've got a major announcement and then be like, oh, we've got this TV deal, or we've got this other deal that we're looking to secure, or saying, hey, oh, well, we actually have kind of secured it, kind of, or whatever, or this is what we're looking for, or this is, where we're looking, or this is who, or not even saying who you're talking to, but, saying, well, if something is in the works and it should be announced at Bound for Glory around that time, and then saying, oh, no, we're going to do it like on the live special or whatever. Don't do it. Like, again, you've got to deliver at a certain point. Like, you can't keep, like, people, like, going, and maybe there is some issue with, like, the signership or whatever, I don't know, but, and perhaps they are trying to keep it hush hush or whatever as much as possible, but leaving it to the end of the year is not very good. Like I said before, you need, like, even if you announce it in December, there's only a month left, or like early December, there's only a month left before, January. So if you're going to debut somewhere new, or even if if it's just on streaming, it's like, well, still need to plug it for a month, so, and maybe the last two episodes of the year are going to be, the best of specials again. So it's like, well, you've only got like really 2 weeks. Yes, maybe you've got, those other 2 weeks where you can plug it as well, where it's like along with the best of stuff, but still feel like you shouldn't take too much away from this being a thing. And again, like, they have to promote it everywhere and a lot to get people to be like, oh yeah, let's tune into this as well, or let's get it over here as well. At least I can watch it live and effectively for free, as long as we've got this other streaming service or whatever it is. So yeah, that's where I'm like, oh, I'm crossing my fingers, I'm hopeful, but like, I'm also like going, well, guys, come on, you've promised this and promised this and promised this and promised this, so you got to deliver at a certain point. So I'm hopeful that they will, because, like, I don't want to be mad at them for not delivering, but it's like, sometimes these things are out of their hands, but, then you shouldn't be promising to say, oh, we'll have news about it, whatever. If the news is like, well, nothing, or we haven't got it, or whatever, well, stop promoting it. Like, that's the thing. Just don't say anything. Just forget about it until something does come along, until something is confirmed. And that's the thing. Like, this is what TNA fam have had to do, or had to do for years. They had to, shout and scream and stomp and beg and plead and curse and carry on for years just to get TNA, some level of recognition and a broadcasting deal. Eventually, they finally got a chance on Fox, and then they finally got one on Spike. So we're no strangers to this song and dance. And the same thing, like, with like the last few years, like, we've been, stamping our feet and making our voices heard. That's what this whole, like, last 6 or 7 years, whatever it's been, has been about. It's been like that redemption of saying, no, we've got some good stuff over here. People just haven't really been paying attention, and it's not like it was, over 10 years ago, where everything's bad and whatnot, and the company's on a slump or whatever. But yeah, you can't waste your opportunities and whatnot. You've got to take your shots when you get them. But then again, it's like not always in your hands, so I get that. So yeah, I hope that they can pull it out and they can work it out. So hopefully everything is cool. you start making questions about what you're going to do with who and when and where and so on. So obviously I think the plan, in my opinion, is to get to Santana and Kazarian at Genesis. I kind of feel like that's like the best thing you can do, because it's, you know, it's a major show. It's the next major show. And then, I don't know, you've got to think like longer term. You've kind of got to think, okay, is Santana going to win it back then? And I don't know whether he should, because, like, and then should you go, okay, then are we going to get back to him at Slammiversary? Or where are we going to get back to him at Bound for Glory? Or, you know, when are we going to do that? Or how, or is there somebody else? Or whatever else it is. You know, so, or are you going to put him in the position of, like, Drew Galloway or whatever, where he's, like, gets screwed over and screwed over and screwed over for, like, ages, or whatever, until he turns heel, you know, or whatever. So, I don't know, or Drew McIntyre, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, that's where I'm starting to think you've got to think like that with that. But yeah, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this one, and I'm sure you all enjoyed the show. So I hope you'll join me again in the next one.